Hello, everyone. I'm Jorge Molina, your immigration attorney. Today is July 30th, 2021, and we have some very important information regarding DACA. We have a lot of updates and information for you. I know that since the ruling, we've had many questions. We're going to talk more about this ruling in a second, but we know you have a lot of questions. We're organizing this webinar especially for those individuals who either already have DACA or apply for DACA, haven't received a response, or if you're just interested in DACA in general. Now, all the information we're providing to you is up to date until this day. It is subject to change. And as a matter of fact, we predict that there's going to be several changes in the coming weeks and months. In particular, the issuing of a new rule regarding DACA. But to answer all your questions and to sort of organize the conversation, we develop a presentation for you, which I'm going to share right now. All right, so just give me 1 second. Let me share my screen so you can see the presentations. By the way, if you have any questions, you please feel free to type your questions in the chat or reserve them until the end. We do have a lot of time allocated for questions, and not only do we want questions, but we really welcome them. All right, just give me 1 second. Okay, folks, so as you may very likely be aware, there was a big ruling that we were expecting on July of, I believe it was July 16th. And let me just summarize what the ruling is. It's a quite long decision by Judge Hainan in Houston. So I'll summarize this, and then I'll issue a few pointers regarding this, and just comment on the fact that it seems like an activist conservative judge really imposing his own views before the law. That's our position, but I'll explain to you why. So in essence, the federal district judge Hainan ruled that DACA was unlawful. In essence, for two reasons. One, because it violated the APA, the Administrative Procedure Act. This act has been controls how the different governmental agencies can issue rulings and decisions and things of that nature. And he also said that the executive branch had overreached its power. So it went far beyond what Congress authorized. And in essence, the judge said that DHS can continue processing existing DACA cases. So if you already had DACA or if you have a renewal or a pending DACA renewal, you're safe. Your DACA is still valid until a further ruling. But if you apply for a new DACA, a new application, those DHS through the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services cannot approve those applications. So there's a indefinite freeze in those applications, and we're going to talk about in greater detail what this means. But in regards to the ruling, the judge said that as in essence the government, that this wasn't just a change of policy, but rather it was a change in rules and the way that it was adjudicated. The reasoning behind that was that if you qualify for DACA, in almost all instances, Citizenship and Immigration Services approved those requests. So the judge compared that to the use of discretion in other circumstances. So here, the judge said that the agency doesn't really have much discretion. If you meet the qualifications, they would approve it. So that was part of the reasoning. Another thing, and here's where the judge overextended his ruling, was saying that Congress didn't specifically created a law allowing for the executive to give work authorization permits for dreamers, right? And then he said that, for the last 10 or so years, Congress has been unable to pass a law protecting dreamers, and it used it as evidence. However, in doing that, he ignored the fact that the government does have the authority to give not only deferred actions, but also work authorization permits to people facing difficult humanitarian circumstances if returned to the countries. So, think of TPS, like people who are facing the possibility of returning to a country ravaged by war or natural disasters. So there is that authority, and the judge failed to see that, if you're a young person and you entered the United States as a child, you had no decision in coming to the United States. The fact that you would be returned to your home country would prove incredibly difficult. So the judge failed to analyze that argument, and in our view, it shows his bias and his willingness to end this program that helped so many thousands. But anyway, that's the ruling. That's what we're facing now. So I'm sure you have questions about how it affects you. Let me just say this very briefly. The White House said that it will appeal this decision, and it also said that there's a new federal regulation on the books that it will announce in the quote unquote not distant future. So in the coming months, we're anticipating the publication of this rule and inviting the public to comment on it. Now, regarding commenting in that rule, please, if you have DACA or you are applying for DACA or you know someone who might benefit for DACA, and this is not even, just a little bit of importance to you, we beg you, please send comments stating why this rule is necessary and emphasizing the hardship that you or your loved one or your friend would experience without DACA. We're going to have another presentation on that matter, how to comment on this. And the more comments we have in favor of DACA, the stronger of a regulation we're going to get. So very important, but just know that the White House said that it will appeal this decision. How beneficial will an appeal be? It's yet to be seen because there's a regulation pending. So the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals could say, you know what, we're just going to stay any decisions until we have the regulation. They would want to say that because if the administration passes the regulation, it would take care of the issues identified in the previous ruling, right? So resolve the issue. And then on the other hand, this lawsuit arises out of Texas. Texas is a very conservative, or it's within a very conservative circuit, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and perhaps the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals would side with Judge Hainan. Also, the Supreme Court is controlled by conservatives, so there's also a likelihood that if we do appeal all the way to the Supreme Court, it will not rule in favor of dreamers. However, a lot of the decisions issued by, or a lot of the reasoning issued by Judge Hainan had some basis in the ruling of Justice Roberts from last summer that in California, or the regions of the California Board of Universities, v. DHS. But I think that's outside the scope of this presentation. All right, folks, so this is what it means, okay? So we try and make it as clear as possible. Let me explain what the ruling does and what it means for you if you have DACA, if you're applying for DACA, if you're renewing your DACA, or if you're thinking about renewing your DACA in the near future. So first and foremost, if you have DACA, it's still valid, okay? Very importantly, if you had DACA before July 16th, 2021, your DACA is still valid. If you have a renewal application pending, you can keep renewing your applications until further notice. So if you have a currently pending renewal application, it would likely be approved, okay, unless there's some other issue not related to a ruling. If you have a pending initial DACA application, and here's where the sad news begins, USCIS has taken the position that while it cannot approve those petitions, they have frozen those cases. So meaning that they're not denying it, they're not sending it back, they're not issuing refunds, nothing like that. But they're just holding it at CAS until further notice. So further notice could mean, either there's a new regulation or there's an appellate decision that might help us, or there's a ruling from another court in the United States that has a different finding. So there would be a conflict in the circuits. So what could happen is that if you're in Texas, your case is frozen, but if you're in California, it can move forward. Just to say something, that's an example, right? That's something that could happen. We're waiting to see if there's any more litigations or any other findings. By the way, if we do get anything, we're going to schedule another presentation just like this. Also, answer all your questions via email, telephone, or meeting with me. Okay, so we're here for you, and we're giving you all the information as we get it. So those are the pending initial DACA applications. If you're eligible for DACA, but you haven't applied for it yet, it's very similar to pending initial DACA applications in that USCIS will accept it and will take your application money, but they cannot approve it. So, what should you do? It really depends on your circumstances. But, if you already have the application ready to go and everything, there's no harm on submitting it. By the way, there could be a benefit because if Congress passes a law protecting people who are DACA eligible or that apply for DACA at a given date, this, the fact that you submitted it and you have evidence of submission might likely benefit you. Again, this is, this is just a hypothesis. We don't know if it will happen, but, something to consider. Again, each case is different. It's really up to you if you haven't filed already. Now, if you have advanced parole through DACA, it is still valid. So that's good news. The ruling didn't affect those cases. If you have DACA and a pending advanced parole application, USCIS will still process it. If here's another one. Immigration clarified this matter just yesterday, and they said that if you had DACA in the past, you let it lapse, and it's lapsed for over 1 year. If you apply to renew it, they're going to treat it like an initial DACA, so they will not issue a new work authorization permit for you, and it'll be frozen with them. All right. Okay, so here's some other information that Citizenship and Immigration Services clarified yesterday. So if, advanced parole should remain as it was before the ruling, right? So this doesn't really change that analysis. Again, you're still subject to inspection, and you're also subjected to other inadmissibility grounds. Before you decide to travel in advanced parole, our advice is to always consult a licensed attorney who can advise you on this matter. But it should remain as it was before the ruling in the case of advanced parole. Now, for biometrics appointments for new DACAs, CIS announced that it will cancel all biometrics, and you should not attend if you have a new DACA application. And then if your DACA lapsed, let's say it expired, you would accrue unlawful presence until your renewal is approved. So that's what we know. For our clients, we're also circulating an email that is just going to pretty much summarize what we just discussed. Also give you some useful links for you to, if you want to know some more information, we'll link you to CIS and some other resources. So be on the lookout. That should go out today in both English and Spanish. But folks, the reason we're here is because we want to hear from you. We want to see what questions you have. We're going to open it up to questions. So I hope the presentation helped you in understanding what's going on. But if you have a particular question, please feel free to to ask. You can either use the chat, or you can we can unmute you and you can answer questions live. Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. We're gonna go back to this presentation, and I know there's quite a few people in the chat. So, do you have any questions? Mm-hmm. If you need us to unmute you, just raise your hand. We will do so. All right, folks. So while we, take some questions here, let's comment on the other solution to this problem. And frankly, all this headache with the courts and then having to appeal the rulings, and it goes one way under one administration, another way under another. This suggests that the way that we should fix this is by passing a law protecting dreamers. So now more than ever, it is urgent for Congress to, to do something, to pass some law that will address this issue, at least when it comes to dreamers. Frankly, most of the population of the United States is in favor of legalizing the status. It's just a matter of political will. We're hoping that after Congress passes an infrastructure deal, we can see some movement in the immigration front. This is a no-brainer, something that most politicians, even the most conservative ones from Republican states, are in favor for. Just a matter of actually putting in the books and doing the hard work of compromising on what it would mean. But yes, okay, so let's see, here's a question. I haven't filed my DACA yet, and I don't know what to do. I was ready to file. In essence, what should we do? Should we file the application now or should we wait? Well, each case is different, but if you're ready to file the application and you already had all the evidence, everything done, there's no point on that in those documents just waiting at home. There should be, if I were in your situation and there's no other considerations, if money's not tight or anything like that, I would just go ahead and file. Okay, even if it's frozen, we don't know how long it's going to remain like that, but it could mean that very soon they could resume processing, and then your case would be just waiting for CIS to approve it. Okay, is there any information on the appeal yet? As of today, there's no information regarding this. The administration has a window of about 30-60 days to appeal the decision. They have said that they would appeal. We don't know when they're going to do that. I believe that there's strong grounds for appeal. I think that the decision really, while it's well reasoned in one regard, it's not very well reasoned in another. And then because of the high profile of it and the politics involved, and the fact that it based a lot of the reasoning on a recent Supreme Court decision, it is likely that it would be picked up by the Supreme Court. So, again, but we don't know, even if it's appealed, what the effect of the appeal will be, because we have a regulation coming up, right? So very likely that regulation is going to be challenged, but the regulation process can take up to 2 years. So again, is very urgent for Congress to act and to pass a law that will protect dreamers in the long run. But good question. Okay, folks, again, if you have any other questions, you can reach us by email. You can always reach us at info@jmolinalawfirm.com. Again, info@jmolinalawfirm.com. This is an important subject, very dear to our hearts. So, if you like any guidance, any information on additional matters, we're here for you. And to our clients, we have more information for you available coming up later today. And I don't see any more questions, so we're going to cut it short today. But again, you can always reach us by email or phone call, and I'll be happy to address your questions. Again, my name is Jorge Molina. You can reach us at 469-708-5800. Again, 469-708-5800. And it's a pleasure being with you. And hopefully next time regarding DACA, we'll have better news. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.